I often hear people say that they can't imagine anything worse than a cruise holiday, and to me, that's a little weird. Sure, we've all seen the horror stories on Netflix of people going missing or some unfortunate plumbing accidents on board, but these are really rare occurrences and are really unlikely to happen. Actually, the truth is, in 2024, more than 34 million people around the world chose cruise ships as their holiday destination. Cruising is quickly becoming the must-do vacation. So in this video, I thought I would explore what are some of the best things about cruising and what are some of those not so great things about cruising. So stay tuned to see what my thoughts are, and if you're enjoying this video, give it a like, and to see more of my videos, including some holiday destination guides, then make sure you're subscribed to my channel. So first up, I'm going to talk about some of the things that I think are really great about cruising. And number one has to be affordability. So when you think about it, when you're on a cruise, all of your dining, your entertainment, your accommodation, basically everything on board that cruise is included in the fare that you've paid prior to boarding. Now, there are some cruises that charge additional for some things and not others, but generally you'll go in knowing exactly what you're going to spend. If you plan it out really well, you can get through a 2 to 3 week cruise without really spending much more than what you spent just to board that cruise. A really great example of this is I recently came back from a 4-week holiday, and 2 of those weeks were on a cruise ship. Now this holiday was through the United States, and the Australian dollar is quite poor compared to the US dollar, well, at least at the time that I was traveling anyway. And for that 2 weeks that I was traveling through the US, I'd spent a whole lot more money than what I would have spent if I was on the cruise ship, even considering the money that I would spend to be on the cruise ship. It's easy to forget that when you're on vacation, there's all these little things that come up. So even just going to grab a snack from a convenience store, or catching a show in Vegas, or doing something just off the cuff, it all costs money when you're off a cruise ship. When you're on that cruise ship, all of that is generally included. Again, some of it may be extra, but if you do your research and plan accordingly, you can make sure that all of your entertainment is covered and all of your food options are covered in that initial base fare that you've already paid. If you so choose as well on a cruise, you can pay a little bit extra and have all of your alcohol included. Now there's a lot of debate around whether a drinks package is worth it or not, and that's completely up to the individual, but I always see it as a bit of an insurance package. I like to have a few drinks each day when I'm on a cruise ship, so for me it's a no-brainer. If I don't get to the maximum number of drinks that the cruise ships allowed, which I generally don't, I don't really mind. I've already paid the money. I'm just happy that I don't have to worry about an extra expense when I'm getting off the cruise ship. Again, this is very dependent on the cruise line that you sail with. Some cruise lines will have a lot more additional fees and additional charges while you're on board than others. But again, if you do that research, if you know what you're getting into, you can get through a cruise holiday no matter the cruise line with very little additional expense. And that's why I would always say that cruising can be such an affordable time away. Number 2 on the reasons why I think cruise holiday is great and that everybody should at least experience it once is that there's always something to do on a cruise ship. There's never a moment where you're sitting down and you're genuinely bored because there's nothing to do. Whether or not it's relaxing by the pool or a hot tub or attending one of the organized events that are on board, there's always something to do. Now, the latest cruise that I was on, the schedule was so packed and there was so many shows that I needed to actively use the planner that was built into the app to make sure that I could see everything that I wanted to see within the 2 weeks that I had. And I had to be really meticulous about that. Again, if you're not looking for that sort of holiday and you just want to relax, you can do that as well. You don't have to go and attend all of the shows, but there's always something to do. For kids and for younger people, there's generally a kids club and you're very well looked after in that respect. But for adults, there's just so much to do. It's almost like an adult Disneyland in a way. Some of the examples of the entertainment that are generally on board all cruise ships are dance classes, art classes, talent competitions, karaoke, pub or bar quizzes, organized parties, themed event nights, and the list goes on. They're happening all the time, all the way through the day, and you can never turn a corner without running into one of these events. And if you want the more quiet time, you can then go and sit by a lounger, by the pool, by one of the many pools, as most cruise lines have multiple pools on board now. Some of them are quieter than others, and most cruise ships have adult-only areas. So if you don't have children or you want to escape children, then there's an option there for you as well. So number 3 is you'll probably end up visiting places that you would never have dreamed of visiting if you weren't on a cruise ship. Now, a cruise holiday is about everything the cruise offers. It's not just the ship itself, it's the destinations and the ports at which they stop at. So on the last cruise that I was on, I went to 5 different destinations. Some of those included Honduras, the Dominican Republic, and Puerto Rico. Now, these destinations are so far away from Sydney, Australia, that they're probably locations that I wouldn't book an individual holiday for. And I feel really lucky that I got to experience just a day at these locations. Sure, you don't get a whole lot of time there, so you really need to make sure you research and know what you want to do when you're at these ports, but they are places that you would not ordinarily visit anyway. So you're getting a whole different experience while you still have the one place to go back to sleep of a nighttime. Cruising really does offer that unique opportunity to see so many different places in such a short period of time and still be really comfortable while doing so. In contrast, if you were trying to do this traditionally, it would be really difficult. You would have to pack up your belongings every time. You would have to go to a new hotel. You would need to unpack, you'd need to repack, you'd need to get yourself settled down. With a cruise, you don't have any of that problem. You've got your home base and your bed moves with you. Your accommodation is moving with you. You've got that consistency, but you're waking up in a different country sometimes every single morning. It's something that only cruising can do, and it can be quite spectacular if you really take that opportunity on board. And the last thing I really love about cruising is how many different options there actually are. So if you think about cruise ships, there's cruises from Virgin Voyages, which are 18 plus adult only cruises, all the way through to Disney cruises, which are aimed at that younger audience, or the Disney adults as well. And everything in between. There are so many different options for cruises that you can find something generally that's going to appeal to you and to the way that you like to experience a vacation or a holiday. There's just so many different options. There's so many different price entry points. There's really something for everyone. And when you think about it, and we go back to that affordability as well, there are so many different options within one cruise ship. You can go from anything from an internal cabin, if you really just want to experience the ship, all the way through to a suite, to the owner's suite, to some of the grand luxury. So if you're looking for that sort of holiday, you can as well. But there's so much variety out there available to everyone that cruising really is becoming more and more viable for more and more people just because of the amount of options that are available. So I guess there are some things that aren't so great about a cruise holiday. And the first thing that I feel that's not so great about the cruise holiday, and this is going to sound a little bit odd, are actually the people that are on cruises. Cruises seem to attract a different sort of person. And I think that's becoming less and less the more people are cruising. But traditionally, cruises were the sort of people that needed every single thing to be done for them. So when you go on a shore excursion, or when you leave the ship, or when you need to do anything that's planned or organized, there sometimes is a lot of friction around that because people get confused really easily. They become the worst versions of themselves because they're used to this curated experience where they don't have to think a lot and they don't have to really try and organize themselves. So it can be a bit of an odd experience, especially for a first-time cruiser. I think, as I said, I think this is becoming less and less the more other people start cruising and the more other people start to realize it's a viable option. But it is something to be aware of. You sort of just have to go with the flow a little bit and just understand that people that are on cruises and these lifelong cruises, you'll be on a boat and on a ship, and sometimes you'll hear of people that are doing their 80th or 90th cruise. They're the sort of people that typically don't know how to organize a whole lot of things outside of a cruise holiday. So just be prepared for that. It can be a little bit frustrating, but if you go with the flow and just understand that everyone's on vacation, then you're good to go. The next thing that could make cruising not so good is if you choose the wrong cruise line for you. Now, in the things that I said were good about cruising, I said there were so many different options, but this can actually work in reverse as well. If you choose a cruise line that is really not for you, then you're really stuck on that ship for maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks, and it may just be friction at every point. So for an example, if you're looking for a more relaxed getaway where you can move to your own schedule and just get things done in your own time, and you were to go on a Carnival cruise for maybe 4 days, then that's probably not going to be a good fit. Carnival are known to be a party cruise, and especially those 3 or 4 day cruises, people are going on there to have a holiday, to party, to drink a lot, and maybe not relax and have the quiet life so much. So it really does pay to make sure that you're researching as best as you can before you book that cruise. Not only researching the room that you're looking to stay in, but research the cruise line, research the sort of people that go on cruises, and make sure you try and get the best fit for you. It's also really worth talking to people that have been on cruises. They will tell you what sort of vibe it is on the ship that they've been on, or the ships that they've been on. Use those experiences, use videos like these to inform you and to really make sure that you're choosing that right cruise line for you. So the next not so great thing about cruising is choosing the wrong cabin or cabin type. Now, this is depending on a lot of things. It depends on how many people you're sailing with, if it's 2, if it's 3, if it's 4. But there are some general rules to follow when selecting a cabin when you're cruising. So you always want to follow the golden rule and make sure you don't get an adjoining cabin if you're not sailing with somebody that you need an adjoining cabin for. So what I mean by an adjoining cabin is that door that connects the 2 cabins. A lot of sound can travel through there, and you probably won't have the best time if you book one of those adjoining rooms when you don't know the people that are next door to you. The other general golden rule is to make sure that there's cabins either side of you, above you, and below you. The worst thing that you could have is having a nightclub or the buffet or a restaurant below or above you, or a swimming pool above you as well. You'll just get a lot of noise traveling through the cabin walls. If you follow those golden rules, you'll typically be okay, but if you choose the wrong cabin type for who you are or what you're looking for, then you're not going to have a great time. If you're traveling with more than 2 people and you're in an interior cabin, that may become a little bit claustrophobic as well. Typically, you'll just have a normal queen size bed, and then you'll have some pull-out beds either coming from the ceiling or fold-out couch, which would make a bunk. This can be a little bit squishy and squashy, but if you're not going to spend too much time in the cabin, it won't be too much of an issue. But just be aware, do a lot of research on the cabin that you're going to book before you book to make sure that you avoid as many of those issues as possible. And the final thing that might not be so great, and you really don't have any control over it, is you may have neighbours that are horrible. This happened to me on my last cruise, and it's something that's completely unavoidable. Most cruises now are fully booked, or they're full sailings, which means you can't really change cabins freely or readily. And we just had some really noisy people next to us. Thankfully, they were only noisy of a night time for maybe about 45 minutes, an hour, but that 45 minutes to an hour at 1 a.m. was really a lot, and it really disrupted our sleep. The cruise I went on before that though, I heard nothing. It was like there was nobody next to me. I know there were people next to me because I saw them occasionally, but I didn't hear a peep out of them. So it's really just a lottery of who you get next to you, but it is something to consider when you're booking your cruise if that is something that will really get to you. Again, I wouldn't let this deter me from booking a cruise, and I'm going to be doing another cruise at the end of this year, but it's something to take into consideration for sure. So they were some of the things that I think are great about cruising and some of the things that I think are not so great about cruising. I have to admit, after my first cruise, I was absolutely converted. I wanted to do so many more cruises, and I'll take any opportunity I can to do more. I think it's one of the best versions of travel to see as much as you can, but still be able to relax at the same time. It really just does offer everything that I need in a holiday. It doesn't mean that I'm going to stop doing other sorts of holidays. There's so much of the world that I want to see and want to record and want to talk about. But cruising will really still play a really big part of my future vacation plans. Now, I'm interested to hear what you think about cruising. Are you a first-time cruiser? Are you a second-time cruiser? Have you had some good or bad experiences? Leave them in the comments. I'm really interested to hear how people feel. Again, I really cringe when people say they couldn't think of anything worse than a cruising holiday. If you think like that, put it in the comments, tell me why. There might be things here that I haven't even considered, but as I said, when I took my first cruise, I was absolutely converted. I was unsure to begin with, but I was absolutely converted. Anyway, that's enough from me. If you like this video, again, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content. It really does help me out. And until next time, bye.